This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. It's winter time here, and it's time to see what we can do with all those fruits and vegetables at the farmer's market. Welcome to the Farmer's Market Gourmet. Hey, big news! This show's been nominated for a 2010 Tasty Awards, honoring the best in food and fashion programming. Now, if you'd like to vote, stay tuned to the end of the show and I'll get you all the info. Well, have you noticed some changes at the farmer's market lately? Well, with the weather changing, so are the vegetables at the farmer's market. We've got a lot more root vegetables, a lot more potatoes, and a lot more greens. So let me show you a fabulous recipe that you can use any of those vegetables with. It's called a vegetable gratin. Now, with this dish, you can use any vegetable or any combination of vegetables that you find at the farmer's market. So let me give you a couple of ideas. You can use mushrooms, beans, carrots, onions, any kind of squash, whether it's summer squash like zucchini or a winter squash. You can use cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. You can use any kind of potatoes, any kind of greens like kale, chard, or spinach, fennel. I mean, you're really seriously limited only by your imagination. And the beauty is you only need to have about a pound or a pound and a half of the vegetables, and you can even combine them to make sort of a combination vegetable gratin. So let me show you what I'm making today. So today I'm making my vegetable gratin with chard. So I have a nice big bunch of chard that I've cleaned, and I'm going to go ahead and get a large saute pan that's got about just an inch or two of water in the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead at this point and also salt the water, just with a little bit of kosher salt. Now over at the stove, I'm going to put the pan on high heat because I want to bring it to a boil. And while the water's getting hot, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to chop up my vegetable. Now, depending on what kind of vegetable you're using, like if you are using a cauliflower, you're going to want to break that up into smaller pieces. Brussels sprouts, again, you might want to cut them maybe in quarters. Fennels, you just slice them. Potatoes, slice them. But basically, you want to break the vegetable down into a smaller piece. And that really helps it cook not only quickly, but nice and evenly. Now we're going to go ahead and pop our chard into the boiling water. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to lightly steam this for about 3 to 4 minutes. So get your chard in the pan, pop the lid on, and set the timer. During this time, we just want to sort of pre-cook the vegetable because it is going to go in the oven for another 20 minutes or so. So when you go to check it, make sure that it's tender, but it's not overcooked. And then you're just going to drain the water out. And what I do is I just pour it all into a colander in the sink and let it just sit there while I get the rest of the ingredients ready. So go ahead and just get a small onion. And what I like to do is I like to chop it up finely. I want it to sort of, melt into the background of this gratin. And then I'm going to take 2 cloves of garlic and I'm going to go ahead and mince those right into the onions. Now over at the stove in my pan, I'm going to have that on a medium-high heat, and I'm going to put in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. And once that gets all nice and melted and foamy, I'm going to take my onion and garlic and I'm going to put it in the pan. And I'm going to let that cook for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to put my cooked chard and I'm going to go ahead and put that into the pan as well. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 teaspoons of flour and I'm going to sprinkle that onto the chard, and I'm going to go ahead and toss that together with the vegetables. This is going to add a little bit of thickening to the milk that I'm going to put in. So once the flour is all mixed in, I'm going to put a 1/2 cup of milk. I'm using a 1% milk, but you could use anything that you like. And I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. And you can see this pan is really hot, so I want to go ahead and stir that around. And then I'm just going to put a pinch of fresh nutmeg. Then I'm going to turn this down to a medium heat, and I'm going to let it cook for about 3 minutes, and I'm just going to stir it every now and then. Now we're going to go ahead and make our breadcrumb topping. So I've got about 2 or 3 pieces of sandwich bread that I've cut into cubes, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in my little food processor here. And then I'm just going to pulse this, and it will just slowly start to turn into nice fine breadcrumbs. Now you end up with about 2 cups of fine breadcrumbs, and we're going to put those into a bowl. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of kosher salt, add that to it, stir that up, and then I have a tablespoon of melted butter, and I'm going to pour that in, and I'm just going to kind of toss the crumbs with that butter just to moisten them a little bit. Now, gratins are traditionally cooked in a shallow pan, so go ahead and then just take a little bit of butter. We want to butter this pan, not only the bottom, but the sides as well. Now back at the stove, our 3 minutes are up, and this is what the chard is starting to look like. And we're going to go ahead at this point and add a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now I'm using a shaved Parmesan, but you could use a grated one. It really doesn't matter. And just toss that lightly with your spatula just to kind of get that cheese dispersed. And then we're going to pull that right off the stove. Now at this point, you are going to want to taste your chard and make sure that it has enough salt. Sometimes you do need to add just a little bit more. And then we're going to go ahead and take this mixture and we're going to put it right into our buttered dish, just like this. Then take your spatula and press the mixture out evenly all the way to the edges of the pan. And then we're going to take and we're going to sprinkle the breadcrumbs all over the top of the gratin. And then I'm just going to get a tablespoon or so of butter, and I'm going to cut little pieces of it off, and I'm just going to dot the whole top of the gratin with the butter. And then for one last finish, I like to take a couple of tablespoons of either Parmesan, or this is Gruyere cheese that I had in the fridge. And I just like to put a little shaving of that on the top. It just gives a great flavor. Now, if you wanted to, you could cover this up and put it in the refrigerator at this point. I'm going to go ahead and bake it for dinner. So I've got a 350-degree oven that's been preheated, and I'm going to pop this in for about 20 minutes. Now, when it comes out, it's going to be nice and golden brown on the top, and you're going to see that it's bubbling a little bit around the edges. Before we go today, I just wanted to mention the Tasty Awards to you. And what's really exciting is that I've been nominated for Best Home Chef in a Series for the show, The Farmer's Market Gourmet. Now, this has a viewer's choice piece to it. So if you'd like to vote for the show, go to the Farmer's Market Gourmet page on our website, and we've got a little icon there for the Tasty Awards. You click on that, and it takes you to the voting page. Now, voting ends on January 5th, so I really appreciate it if you take a moment and vote. You know, I think we've forgotten about how great vegetable gratins are, and they don't have to be loaded with lots of cream and butter and cheese to be absolutely delicious. Thanks for joining me today. If you'd like to get the recipe that you saw me make today, just go to our website and visit the Farmer's Market Gourmet show notes, and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I'll see you next time.